Hi, this is Michael.
And this is Steven, and we are the Movie Bros. Well, today for our finale of ScreamFest 2021, we have the one and only KillJoy Jake joining us. Hi, Jake.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. It's a real pleasure to have you on our finale of ScreamFest. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to talk about new upcoming Scream movie and just like the franchise in general, man. It's exciting stuff to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But Mike, you have something to talk about first, don't you?
I do. If you love the Scream franchise, click the like button and on the video. And if you like to see more of our content, click the bell notification and also hit subscribe. And you'll be notified for our upcoming content. Also, look in the description below. You'll see our social media, merch store, and Patreon page links. And finally, a quick shout out to all our patrons. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Also, in the description below, you'll see links for KillJoy Jake's channel.
That's right. You must visit it after this video is over. You're going to love it. We'll talk more about it later, but yes, it's a must see.
Yes.
Right now, we're going to transition now out of our Scream 5 discussion and move into the latter part of our ScreamFest final entry video for you guys. And we're going to talk about briefly, just kind of an overview, our feelings on the original, not the original, but the entire Scream franchise. That's 1 through 4. We're not going to talk about the individual movies. We've already got those videos up right now that you can watch on the channel for ScreamFest. But we want to talk about it as terms of what is Scream to the horror genre? What is Scream to the film industry? What impact has it made? What value have we seen from it? And just kind of our overall impressions and thoughts of Scream in general. So Jake, why don't you start us off with what you would say are your overall thoughts on this franchise?
I think it's arguably one of the most important franchises to the genre. I think definitely in the like later sequels, there's obviously a lot of flaws. Like I think 3 and 4 are heavily flawed, but that first film was so influential to the genre. People were really losing interest in just the same old slasher movie over and over again. If you look at early 90s slashers, there's some gems there, but there's also a lot of just the same old from the 80s over and over again. Same, just people murdering dumb teenagers. People were getting sick of that, and this movie kind of changed all of that. They took those rules that were established in like your Friday the 13th, your Halloweens, your more obscure movies like Chopping Mall, Bay of Blood, just like weird movies like that. And they took all of that and made it like just meta, made it like all these characters were familiar with these past movies, which had never really been done before. I mean, if you watch Wes Craven's New Nightmare, that's kind of, which is also Wes Craven, kind of the first time that whole idea was done, but it was really popularized with Scream. And that's so important to the genre because now we have this horror comedy twist that's in the spotlight, the limelight of horror movies, opposed to being something that's talked about on the side. It was popular. You influenced the next 5 years of horror films in that direction. Everything tried to copy Scream after that. I think it's a really important movie to the genre. I don't think we'd be obviously we wouldn't be sitting here talking about Scream if it wasn't for that first movie, but I don't even think we'd be talking about horror movies right now if it wasn't for that film. They would not be as popular or mainstream as they are today without Scream, for sure. It's a really important film. I love it. It's one of my favorite horror movies. It's just, and it's a fun time too. It's not the most terrifying film ever made, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great time. Great characters, great killer. That's really all I got to say about
it. That's awesome. Yeah, Jake, I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. And to your point, the franchise, not the franchise, but the genre really was dead. I mean, remember those movies that most of them were going direct to video? Yeah. Remember there was like, now, I know Jake, you're a little bit younger than us, but but just by a few years. But I remember in the 90s when, because I saw Mike and I both were able to see all the Scream movies in the theaters when they came out. And what a mind-blowing experience. I remember watching Scream 1. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, every little, I don't want to say spidey sense, but every little Spidey sense, I don't care, I'll say it, was going off. Scream sense, Ghostface sense, whatever. And I was like in the theater, seriously blown away. The minute that movie was over with, I'm like, okay, I have to see this again. You know, I said one of those movies where it gets better. It gets better with age, and it still holds up. I mean, I watch it pretty regularly. And I just like a week ago, I watched Scream 1 again, and it just holds up, man. It's like it's just as good now as it was then. Now, sure, there's some references and things that are obviously dating the era that it was made in, but that's that's
Oh yeah.
Godfather 2, everything's dated, but the point is it holds up. Some movies you watch now, you're like, oh, I remember that better, when I saw it. But not with Scream, man. And I really believe Wes Craven, he really saved the genre. He revitalized it. And Kevin Williamson, like you said, he deserves a lot of credit. These guys together were the ultimate power duo. I mean, I just can't imagine a better team. So the Scream franchise, to me, it rivals, or rivals or is better than any other franchise in the genre. That's how strongly I liked it. I'm unapologetic about it. It's my favorite film franchise. Scream is here, and everything else starts here, or goes down from there, whatever. And so those are my feelings, very strong feelings, and that's why one of the reasons why we want to do Screamfest. We want to celebrate every one of these films, and even though there's, like you mentioned, there's some flaws in some of them, of course, but there's no perfect movie out there. But the thing is, there's more to like than dislike in these movies, and for me, it's more to love than, because I just love them. So, Mike, what are your thoughts on the overall before we jump into our rankings?
Well, back in 1996, like you said, horror was basically dead. Wes came along and resuscitated it, and he didn't make it cheesy or campy.
No.
He made it about current events that were happening now. It shows kids in high school, the relationships they have, showing up at the Blockbuster, the video store, having fun, or sitting at the, in high school, going through classes or whatever, and it had the twists, and it also had, a little bit of humor included in it. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek humor, but it wasn't campy or cheesy,
No,
so
not at all.
he made it, something that was really good and people loved. So he resuscitated the whole, genre of horror and slasher movies and whodunits and whatever else.
All of it.
Yeah. So that's that was my thought. So
Absolutely. No, it is. So having said that, now guys, let's talk about our rankings. And for me, this is like asking me to rank, like we'd rank my children or something. Like, they share the same DNA, but they're all unique in their own way, just like kids. So, but I'm going to do it. I'm not going to wimp out and say, oh, I can't really, no, I'm going to do it. I've never done this before. This is the first time I've gone on record and actually ranked these movies. I've never done it because I always resisted that, but I'm going to do it tonight, but not yet. Jake, I want to let you go first. So
Awesome.
You can break the ice. So let's start with, what is your fourth ranked? I'm not going to say least favorite, because I think we all call these favorites, but your number 4 ranked Scream film.
So mine is Scream 3, and I think I've recently rewatched this movie because honestly, this is the one that I go back to the least. But at the same time, this movie's so fun. It's a great time. It's almost one of the most fun movies in the whole franchise, which is crazy. But it has so many problems, and they make fun of the problems throughout the movie too. Like, they recognize, like, oh yeah, there's 100 rewrites of this movie. It was a disaster trying to make this film, like, probably the worst out of all of them. There's the whole Sydney's ghost bomb thing. I wrote, that's like the biggest thing I have written down. Like, all those scenes are so bad and so corny. Don't fit this franchise at all, in my opinion. The whole house blowing up, everything leading up to that is like, you'd have to the whole to go through that whole thing is that's a whole argument. Like you have to have the gas going in the house. How would you not smell the gas? Why would you light a lighter in in the early thousands when you would just pick up a flashlight? You know, there's that's a huge problem. I will say there's some great moments in Scream 3 though. I love the when Ghostface is hiding in like the closet with all the other Ghostface costumes. Great scene. Oh, man, honestly, top 10 scenes from the entire franchise. That's up there somewhere. Yeah. I also feel like Roman is a little goofy to be the killer. Like I get it, but at the same time, it's like, to me, it's a bit of a stretch for that one. Do you want me to just keep going through? Like I can just go through my whole ranking, or do you want to like?
Let's do one at a time. Yeah,
I like that.
We'll kind of spread out the suspense for everybody as we go through one.
I like it.
But yeah, no, valid feedback on Scream 3. And, you know, I think you're right. I think Wes was, because this is one where they were writing. Aaron Kruger was writing. And again, that's the big piece. Kevin Williamson's missing. And I think that those missing pieces that you're mentioning, you're talking about how it's just not the same feel. Well, it's because it's a different writer. And we have the different feeling. It's not that Kevin Williamson connectivity or connection, whatever. And also, this was the least bloodiest of the movies. This was the kills were dialed way down because of the moment in time with Columbine and the tragedy. Everyone was hypersensitive in the studios. They're like, no blood, no blood. And Wes said it came to a point where he was like, he told the executives, he says, look, either we're going to make a Scream movie or let's just call this something else. You know, because if you keep on saying no blood and ease back, it's not a Scream movie anymore, you know. But anyway, that was a part of it also. It was but I think the biggest part for me is my fourth ranked film is obviously Scream 3. I should have probably started with that. It's also Scream 3. But I do love this movie, and I really mean that. I've enjoyed every time I watch it. It's just fun. Like I think you said that, Jake, just a minute ago. It's a fun. I call it almost like the Scooby-Doo version. It's like a Scooby-Doo Scream.
I could agree more with that. I could not agree more with that. Yeah.
Yeah. That summarizes the whole thing right there for me. And I think missing Kevin Williamson and having to write scripts the day of filming it's a lot. And I think Wes, he took what was really a challenge, and a lot of directors, lesser directors, that movie would have fallen completely apart. But I think that he was able to hold it together and make it the best version it could be given the circumstances. So that's my apologetic for Scream 3, but I do love the movie as well. Mike, what's your fourth ranked?
Well, I'm gonna hit the third one too.
Okay.
So we all three agree on Scream 3 that
Okay.
it's number 4. It was it was a very fun movie. Very, very more humorous than most of the Scream movies I saw. You know, they would have a little bit of humor in it, but not as much. You know, they had Carrie Fisher in it, Jay and Silent Bob, you know, as cameos.
Yep.
And you know, it was more of a fun movie, but it doesn't seem to fit the flow of everything else. And then at the end, you know, they only have one killer, which is, it kind of like breaks the mold of all the other, you know, Scream movies. Right. So yeah, that's my reason for having it number 4.
Yeah.
So on your third ranking, Jake, which one do you think is number 3?
Interested to hear this.
This I constantly go back and forth with. Like, I actually did a video maybe like 6 months ago ranking all the films, and I believe in that one I said Scream 2 was my third favorite, but I'm gonna go, like, today I'm feeling Scream 4 as my third favorite. And like, as I go back to it, I feel like sometimes I'll focus on the mistakes of Scream 4, sometimes I'll focus on what I really like about the film. The last time I watched it, the overly meta humor just really bothered me this time around for whatever reason. that opening sequence to me is just, it's too much. It's way too much. You got to pull back on that a little bit. And they even address that with the new film. They're like, oh, we're not going to be meta with the new film. Don't worry. Like, it's not going to be the same as Scream 4. I don't even think they meant to say like the new film's not going to be meta. They just wanted to put that out there. Like, no, it's not going to be like Scream 4, where every single line of dialogue had to be a meta joke. That's such a problem with me, because like the tone and like the balance of everything is totally off in this film. With that being said, though, there's a lot of great things about Scream 4. I think it's the bloodiest film and has some of the most upsetting kills of the entire franchise. But then it also some great characters too. Kirby Reed is like a top 5 character for me personally. She's one of my favorite characters throughout the entire franchise. Would love to see her come back for the new film, although I don't think it's happening. I'm kind of going all over the place here, but
yeah, that's good.
I also feel like I talked about this a little earlier with y'all, that why the film looks yellow for some reason. I don't know what was going on with the editing behind this movie. It just doesn't look great. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you had another editor go in there and like do the coloring over again, it might look a lot better. Like, I feel like you could do this. It would probably take you like an hour just to color this movie a little differently, and it looks so much better. It's such a ridiculous thing. I don't know what happened there. Like I said, though, great kills. Lots of blood. One of the bloodiest Scream films, if not the bloodiest Scream film. And I also love the killer reveal. Maybe that's a little controversial, but I did not see that coming at all. I've gotten some comments from people saying like, "What, you didn't know it was Jill the whole time?" I'm like, no, I did not. If you go back, there are a lot of moments that are little tiny shreds of details that would give it away. But it totally blew my mind the first time I saw that movie, honestly. There's a scene, I guess, where when Ghostface jumps out of the closet in the other house, you see her like check her phone or something real quick in the background, Emma Roberts. And you go back and watch it, you're like, oh my God, that's so mind blowing. I never caught that. It's something that I can't, I'm probably saying it wrong exactly what happens there, but it's something like that. It kind of gives it away that she might be the killer. I really do like Scream 4. I still feel like it might be the 3rd in my ranking though. So,
okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, Jake, I have to agree with you. My ranking is Scream 4 also. I think that for me, it fell flat with the character development for me. I mean, there was, things going on and some of the characters were developed a little better, but it wasn't as good character development as with the other movies per se. And I didn't like Calkin. What was his name? Calkin. Rory Calkin. I didn't like his character at all. I don't know. He was flat and had no emotion. And there were some good things about it. Like you said, when Ghostface jumped out of the closet in the other one. When I first saw the movie, I had no clue that he was going to do that, and that was pretty intense. And then with Kirby getting killed, that was kind of sad. But like I said, it would rank as my number 3. What about you, Steve?
Well, I'm going to be the first one to differ on our rankings, and this one also was a little tough for me. But I decided I had to make a decision. So the decision I made was, this is going to probably surprise you, my 3rd ranked film is Scream 2. And listen, Scream 2 is, I want to stress this. I love each of these movies. That's what's out there, okay? That's why it's hard to do this. But this was a very strong sequel. And as we talked about in our Scream 2 video for ScreamFest, I believe is one of the strongest direct sequels in horror history. I think it rivals anybody's as far as being the strength of a sequel, without falling flat. I mean, it was a really good movie, and I thought it was the perfect continuation of the Legacy's cast, and from high school into college, just continuing that, and really felt like it could have been literally, like you say, just a couple years later, which is what it was. You're picking right up like nothing, like you didn't miss a beat. The new cast were really good. Some of my favorite scenes from Ghostface were in this, or are scenes of tension where Sydney's crawling over Ghostface in the car with her and her roommate then second after her, when Ghostface is after Gail in the recording studio, where we think Dewey's getting killed, remember, in the soundproof glass. Those are some of my favorite scenes of all the movies. And so there's a lot of good things. And so you're probably thinking, well, dang, Steve, why, if it's so good, why is it 3? Well, we'll talk about why I ranked it 3 when I talk about why I ranked my next one after this. So it'll make more sense. You'll understand why, but it was a great movie. All right. So let's move forward. Scream. What is our number 2? Yeah, we're number 2. Number 2 and why? Jake, here we go.
I'm gonna say Scream 2 for my number 2. I agree with you 100%. Like, I feel like this movie captures the tone of the first film better than a lot of other horror sequels, for sure. Like, it does that really well. And I think the reason I used to put this one as number 3 instead of number 2 was because I valued the killer reveal of Scream 4 more over the original film. But I think now, as a 6 months older human being, I now value the tone more than anything, which Scream 4 doesn't do nearly as well as this film does. It really captures that tone as the original film, really on, like, as perfectly as possible. I just don't love the killer reveal of the second film. That's my biggest problem with it, is Mrs. Loomis, who is late 40s mom running around and chasing and killing like early 20s 19-year-olds. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me personally. Like, I know Mickey probably did the majority of the dirty work, but it's still just, I just can't imagine an old person running around murdering kids, essentially. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a little bit out there for me. It's different when it's Michael Myers, who's like practically immortal.
I was gonna say, I know these guys.
Different story there instead of somebody's mom. You know what I mean? That's my always been my problem with the end of Scream 2. My buddy Zach Cherry did a video that I can't believe I haven't seen this one yet, where he breaks down like where the certain killers are in the movies, like which one it is.
Yes, I've seen those. They're phenomenal, man.
The first one I've seen, and it's fantastic. He does a great job. I have unfortunately not seen those ones he did on the sequels. I have to check those out though. Highly recommend his page.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. That's my biggest problem with Scream 2, though. I think the opening kill is great, if not the best opening kill of all the sequels. The cast is also, in my opinion, the best out of all the movies. That's probably controversial, but I think this one easily, out of all 4 of the Scream movies, has the best cast. I just love everybody who's a part of it. They're like people from my childhood. Do I have anything else in my notes? No, I love Scream 2. It's my second favorite as of now. So
awesome. So I guess I'll go next. That's all right, Mike. I'll go next.
Yeah.
So for my number 2 is Scream 4, and I went back between 4 and 2 for my second spot, but I liked Scream. The reason I ranked Scream 4 here is because, kind of what Jake you've touched on in some ways, I feel for this movie, I thought it was the same, approaches the same level of brutality that we saw in the first film. You know, you mentioned earlier, it was the, the bloodiest of the films. The kills, that opening kill, or not the opening kill, but like the kill, the second kill technically, when they're across the street from the closet kill. Man, that room was, when the knife goes through her hand, I'm like, okay, Wes Craven he's not holding back on this one, man. Because remember, this is coming off of Scream 3, the least bloody film, the least brutal, I'll say, film. And I'm like, the knife through the hand, then the walls are sprayed with blood and the guts cut open. And I'm like, dude, what? This is something else. And then like I say, I could go on and on about it, but the brutality of this one, I felt Wes brought that back. I agree that the saturation was off. I don't know why the color was that way. The lights on the glow around them as oversaturated. I don't know what the deal was. I have to assume that was by intention, because I can't believe that Wes would be happy with this. I don't know, but we'll never know. But I was, I look past that to look at the other stuff, and what we see at the end, the finale. Again, spoiler alerts, everybody. What we see at the end with Jill in the reveal, her total depravity, just that whole final act of her after the reveal is made is just, it rivals the insanity of Stu and Billy in the first movie. I mean, what she does to herself with the mutilation, the stabbing, the hair pulling, the everything we see there. And dude, that chick was not just psycho. She was depraved. And the thought of how she was killing all these people, which I know Billy and Stu did too, but they all cared about her, even her mom, her own mother. I mean, this was sick, man. So I thought that all of that combined for me made me rank this as my number 2. Mike?
So I'll have to say mine is Scream 2, because I think that it hit almost as good as Scream 1 in the part where there's so much suspense, and that's what I find to be, more scarier than the actual killings is the suspense kills me, the buildup is so intense, you don't know, because she's walking around in the theater, and then all of a sudden she's surrounded by all these people dressed like ghosts, and then there's Ghostface pops up while dancing around, and it's, you just don't know. And then the part where, like you said earlier, she had to crawl over Ghostface to get out of the cop car, and
love that scene.
Yeah, it just it's so intense. And it's you could actually make 1 and 2 into one, and just like in the middle, like you said earlier, 2 years later, and boom, you just start Scream 2, but it still part of Scream 1.
Exactly.
So I really enjoyed Scream 2, and that's my number 2. So number 1, Jake, can we guess what it is?
We all know.
Probably can. It's so hard to pick anything except the original Scream movie as number 1, man. I mean, it's one of those movies that, like, we just talked about, I'm not going to repeat stuff, but it changed the genre entirely. It's so iconic. That opening is still terrifying, even when you know what happens. You hear that line of I just want to know who I'm looking at.
That's it.
Every single time I hear that, I just get goosebumps all over my arms. It's done so well. I love that opening scene. It changed horror forever. Just everybody in that movie is fantastic. You don't have like the giant casts like some of the sequels do, but it focuses a lot more on the main characters. You got like Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette. Like, it really establishes all their relationships, and we see those characters at their raw, uncut selves. We see their relationships building between each other. Like, obviously, Kale and Sydney do not like each other so much in that first movie, and now they've come a long way. Like, they're actually sort of friends in the later movies. I love this movie. It's one of my all-time top 10 horror films of all time for sure. It's one that I grew up with. I love it. It's a lot of fun. Ghostface still has. I just love his look. It's so simple. I love horror villains with and this is such a weird thing to say, but that have are monochromatic or just have white and black colors, and then you get that little bit of red, that splash of blood on there, and it's it stands out so much more than any other kind of horror villain. I think Ghostface he's a top tier slasher for me personally. So there's not a lot to talk about with Scream that I would probably just be regurgitating stuff we've already talked about. But I love this film. It's an easy number 1 spot for me for sure.
Mine's a number 1 too, and the original Scream, we saw it in the movies, freaked me out. Who has 2 killers? I hadn't seen any movies with 2 killers.
So good.
But if I said anything else, I'd be regurgitating what you, Jake, and Steve said. So go ahead, Steve. What's yours?
Well, Scream 1. We are unanimous. I will just say this without repeating what we've said. is that I consider this a supreme masterpiece by Wes Craven. This is, if anyone wants to ask me, tell me about Wes Craven's career, I'll say, don't, rather than let me tell you, watch this movie, because this was, I think he was on all cylinders, man. He was just on fire in directing this film. And there were scenes that literally the script just says, Wes makes it scary. And that's where, and so he comes, he's doing this stuff on his own and from his own mind, a lot of these things. And so it was a masterpiece, brilliant writing by Kevin Williamson, and brilliant direction. And I think brilliant acting from these young actors that a lot of them were just getting started in their careers. So it was the trifecta of brilliance, writing, directing, acting, and 25 years later, it holds up again. And Jake, as you said earlier, in October, we're going to have a chance to see it in theaters again for a couple of days, which is just awesome. So guys, be sure you check for that. Come into your area of town, hopefully in October. We'll put links below where you can check that out. Well, guys, this has been fantastic talking about Scream and Scream 5. And I want to transition now, Jake, to talk about another cool film called Red Right Hand. And guys, for those of you who are watching and don't know this, Jake has just finished completing his fan film. It's an original film called Red Right Hand. It's an original Scream film.
Nice.
Now, Jake, yes. Now, without giving away spoilers, Jake, let us know. Tell us about this movie. What can you leak about your film here? Breaking story that you haven't leaked anywhere else.
I can give you like a little tiny bits and pieces, because man, I'm like, okay. I'll tell you this, we're halfway through editing it, and we're already talking about what are we gonna do for the trailer without giving too much away, because there's so many, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's like gonna be about only like 10 to 12 minutes. Like, it's a short film, it's nothing super crazy. But there's like so many twists and turns. Like I've been working on this since January. So it's like it's pretty complex, it's pretty crazy, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm so excited to drop it. We don't know what to do for a trailer. Like we're like, okay, maybe like 15 seconds of Ghostface running around. That's the only shot where we're not giving something away. So it's like, it's impossible for me to really elaborate on what it's going to be about. But I will say this. A bunch of other horror YouTubers are going to make cameos at some point in it. I can't say what. No. I can't say what, but it's something. It's a big joke. It's something really funny that I'm really excited to include in the movie at some point. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, you're going to see Ghostface doing a lot of killing. I'm going to say that too. I don't want to give anything else away because I don't want to spoil it. I want it to be a shock. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, it you know, as a Scream influenced movie should be. It should be a surprise. And guys, you know, you see, I see that below, we have the image, the first image that Jake has released of Ghostface from Red Right Hand. So that's a little picture there to whet your appetites, guys, of what's to come. And Jake, do you have a projected drop date yet, or is it still a bit too early?
So we're thinking, I mean, like, the film's pretty much done at this point. I guess I can say this. We're thinking first week of October. So like the first 2 days of October, I believe, are like Friday and Saturday, but like that next week, probably that Friday, which I believe is October 8th is going to be the release date. Ooh. So that's the first time I'm saying that. There you go.
There we go.
There's something spicy. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be the release date for the film. If you support me on Patreon, you'll be able to see it a day early too. So
nice.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
All right. So Jake, you also have a YouTube channel called KillJoy Jake. And we love the tagline you say when you begin your videos, when you say, instead of friends, I have horror movies.
I love that.
And so if you look at the link below, you'll go to your channel. What can the viewers expect when they go to when they visit your channel?
Well, I love Scream. You know, I talk about the upcoming movie a lot. I also cover a bunch of other upcoming horror films. Like I talked about Halloween Kills. I talked about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I just recently covered Don't Breathe 2. I did a review on that. Did a big video on that. I talk about a bunch of obscure stuff too, you know, like other stuff that isn't being talked about too much, unfortunately. Like this film, it's an indie film that came out earlier this year called Benny Loves You. It's a really weird movie about a little teddy bear that murders people. I loved it. I'm like, why are more people not talking about this? It's crazy. So I try to shed light on some more obscure stuff as well. I just a variety of crazy upcoming horror topics. That's what I like to talk about there. Hopefully, if you like that, then go subscribe.
Excellent.
Absolutely, guys. Y'all need to do that, man. When this video is done here, look in the description. It's right there. We'll have his link to his channel, excuse me, here in the description. Spend some time there. He posts a lot of great content, and he posts it very often. So you're never going to be bored on Jake's channel, man. It is always material to watch. So be sure you guys go there, subscribe to his channel. Be sure you drop him a comment too, and let him know that you found them from the ScreamFest. That would be great for all of us to know. Yeah. So don't be shy. And speaking of comments, we want to hear from you guys in this video. Please drop us a comment. Tell us if you enjoyed the video as we talked about Scream 5 and the overall rankings, as well as our ScreamFest in general. If for any reason this is the first time you're seeing one of our ScreamFest videos, we also have 4 others for you to watch. So after this is done, go check them out here on the playlist on the channel, and you'll get to see all 4 of those where we break down each Scream film in full detail. And we hope that you'll like those as well.
Spoiler alerts.
Spoiler alerts. Well, listen, guys, this has been a blast. Jake, I want to say thank you so much for joining us and closing out ScreamFest. This was absolutely a joy tonight.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with y'all.
As well. All right, guys. Once again, this is Steven.
This is Michael. We are the Movie Bros and our special guest, KillJoy Jake.
See you guys.